So its time is 6 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. So yes, it's Committee Chairs Day, not to be outshadowed by Election Day. It's Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020. And like I said, the time was 6 p.m. This meeting is being recorded. Hold on, let me just make sure. Yes, it's being recorded by committee chairs. If anyone else is doing the same, please notify me at this time. Seeing none. She did not provide me with roll call sheets. Let me just check. She likes it very specific. Let me just check if I'm supposed to be filling anything out. I don't think she did give me anything to fill out. That's okay. It's a very crazy day. So let me just, one moment. Let me just create a document that I can copy and paste and send to her. So this is going to be in no correct order. I believe and if I'm not accounting for somebody, please let me know. So I will go ahead. I know that I'm present. Councillor Wheeler.
Here.
Councillor Treasurer Disberger.
Here.
Councillor Dolan.
I'm here.
Councillor Gilmore.
I'm here.
And Councillor Gwynn.
Here.
Perfect. Moving on back into my agenda. So we have this always every month, the continued discussion on proposed policies and just basically when will we resume physical in-person council meetings. Being that the pandemic seems to be getting worse, I'm just going to go ahead and say that we'll continue to be remote at this time. Especially we've been doing a stand-up job doing remote. And so I just don't think it makes sense now to come back into in-person, but if anyone feels differently, I welcome you to take the floor.
I don't feel differently. I completely agree. I just wanted to offer the update that I believe Fernando may be trying to purchase microphones so that when we do go back to in-person, every counselor has their own microphone. I at least know that Liz was going to encourage him to do so and apply for CARES Act funding for that.
Perfect. Yeah, and hopefully with the stats, that's sooner than later, but not looking like that will be true. So next we have, this was from Councillor Forgy, the request for reports on City Council revenues and expenditures to be sent on a quarterly basis. I know, is this referring to what's in the charter, or is this just a separate request?
So I think it's a separate request, but I think it's worth talking about what's in the charter and what happens already. I think that Director Gilman does already send out quarterly reports. They might be a month or two behind just because that's the way that finances work, and obviously she can speak to that more. But I did want to emphasize that we have reports in our council drive already, and they're pretty up to date. So I think that we're actually doing this already. As far as the charter piece, that actually asks that the mayor make a quarterly report. And I don't think that has really happened as long as I've been on council. But there's always a good time to start.
If I may speak, you're right. And in the way back of my head, I probably knew that. I guess I consider Liz's quarterly reports to the council. Now, if you would prefer something different, I am happy to, because we talk, often. If you prefer something different, I'd be happy to oblige.
I think as Ways and Means Chair, the reports from Liz, absolutely do constitute a quarterly report. And the only thing that I would suggest is, a cover page to the attachment that basically says there's no change. Things are going along as budgeted and as expected, or this is what's different. And I think Liz does tend to provide that, but
Sure.
I just know some counselors can't. It's a lot of numbers, really.
Yeah. So I'd be happy to affirm whatever it is she's reporting on in that way or some other way. So as long as Liz makes a note that whenever she sends them to check with me, and I'll affirm whatever it is she's saying, that would be fine.
Great, thanks. So as far as our setting the agenda for Ways and Means, I think if this went under new business, I'll just address it at the meeting for Councilor 4G and those who aren't here.
And it might be helpful, and I don't know if this is the clerk's office or if this is us or whatever, just pointing out where they can find the reports, just to make sure that everybody knows where to access these things in the drive. Sometimes drives can feel like endless black pits.
Totally.
So that'll be helpful. Great. And my agenda went away again. Oh, brother. Oh, my goodness. Please. Sorry, I'm just trying to bring up my agenda again. Recent. No. Oh my gosh. Very well. There we go. Oh, she did send me a roll call. That's funny, but I did it without her. Okay. So next we have the FY 2021 tax classification hearing. That will go to Ways and Means.
Yep, and the only thing there is, I think Kimberly Mew should be invited. She may already have been invited.
Yeah, I assume she assumes she'll be part of that meeting. Just for this group, not really a big deal, but I'm always most interested to see the year to year as opposed to just the current year. And so I did ask her, I'm sure I could find it if I wanted to search, but I did ask her for 2019 as well. I'm just always curious to see, kind of related to what the mayor said about not realizing how many people have moved, new voters have moved to Greenfield, and kind of understanding where we still stand in terms of commercial, industrial, and residential. It's a statewide, I would say, I've only seen statewide data, but I'm sure we're not the only state who's experiencing the shouldering of the burden of taxes on residents. So that's just something that I'm going to ask her to kind of speak to as well. Let me just make a note to make sure Kimberly is invited. And then next we have the appointments, which will the appointments and the reappointments will go to committee, Councilor Gwynn. And so if we look at what we have for Ways and Means, I think it was a very productive meeting last month. regarding information for the fire station. Is that, well, I guess we have a first reading now, so will you be putting forth a recommendation, or is your goal to continue discussion, Vice President Wheeler?
Yeah, the goal is to put forward a recommendation and hopefully to do that without too much further discussion, because I think we had a lot of that last time, but whatever's necessary to get the committee in a place to vote.
Great. And then so you also have the reduction of the operating budget, you have an authorization, you have the ambulance revolving fund, and then you have the GSET. I did invite, I was going to say Counselor Lunt. I did invite GM Lunt to this meeting as well. It's been a while. We were actually supposed to have a GSET update before COVID hit, and then COVID hit, and then our meeting, I think that meeting was canceled, and then we just never got back to it. So I think it's a good opportunity to not only hear about this investment, but also hear about how GSET's doing in general. And then we have, it looks like this is a part of the beginning of our Wisdom Way project as well. So that's a lot. I don't think any of it's too controversial except for the last piece. And then we're also tossing in there the request for reports as well as the tax classification hearing. Anything else do you think that should belong there? Anything else? Can you squeeze anything else in your meeting?
No, absolutely not. Can we take anything off?
Yeah, I was gonna say, thinking about.
No, it's fine. We'll get through it.
In the heyday of Ways and Means, I remember we had an entire sheet of stuff. So I think this looks good. I'll just make a note for Tammy to put that.
And I would say invite Director Warner, but I'm sure he's already expecting to be there because counselors may have, I see him on the call, counselors may have questions about Wisdom Way, which I can probably answer to some degree, but certainly Marlo could do a better job.
And you would also like Kimberly to attend as well.
Yes, please.
In terms of tax classification, do you want to invite our regional tax assessor, or is Kimberly sufficient for your discussion?
I think Kimberly is sufficient for this discussion.
Perfect. Let's see here. And then would you like to ensure anyone in particular is there as you close out your discussion for the fire station?
Not necessarily. Unless I receive questions from counselors, I think it's just going to be discussion between the committee and then a vote.
Okay, sounds good. Moving to A&O, and just checking. I know your times kind of switch over. Tuesday is the right day for this month. Yes, it is. Okay. All right. So A&O, your meeting's on Wednesday. It's a holiday. Does that work for your committee meeting on Veterans Day?
I have not heard from anyone that it doesn't. My only question is, my first point on the agenda is the ordinance prohibiting electioneering. I need Kathy on that meeting, and I don't know if that's a day that she won't be working.
Oh, she will not be working.
So I don't want to bring her in on a day off to talk to us about electioneering. So that would be my only initial concern. We can just move that on the agenda. we still have time. It's about local elections more than anything. So we can move that. That would be the only thing I see, unless I get a outcry from the committee, which I have not.
Okay, so we'll take that off. Oh, hello. Okay. All right, and then you have the, hello. Like someone's trying to speak, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So we have the ordinance to establish a rental dwelling units. So where does that stand, Counselor Gwynn? I've been getting questions on that.
Sure, that stands as I've requested a meeting with the mayor's office and the departments that this pertains to, and they have not given us a time to meet yet. And I have one other concern now, in that the person on the mayoral staff, if you would like to say, has now retired, who was the kind of the catalyst behind this. So I'm not sure. I have not yet spoken to the acting inspection people to see if they still want to pursue it from their side. So that's where this is at the moment.
Okay, so kind of regrouping now that Valerie has retired.
Yeah, with Valerie retiring, I want to circle back with Counselor Wheeler. I'd like to, I really need the meeting with the mayor's office, as I talked to the mayor about, and to see if this is really the ordinance that is needed to solve the problem without creating a new one.
Okay, so basically just a reboot.
I'm happy to speak to that if Dan wants me to, or if you want me to, Ashley.
Sure.
Well, Dan, I'll be honest with you. I don't recall ever getting a request from you. Now, Danny is not on this call, and she may have gotten it. I don't remember getting a request from you to speak to this, but I'm happy to. I know that it was something that Val was very interested in, and we discussed it many moons ago. So just by the by, send that to me directly. Don't do it to Mayor to roxanne.wiedegartner@greenfield-mass.gov, and or just pick up the phone and call me. I'm happy to chat with you on that if that's what's going to help, and then we can discuss it.
Okay, moving forward. Okay, I will do that. And to refresh the thought is to have another member of the committee, and then the members of your departments that make sense on this proposed ordinance. So if we could put that together, I will follow up with you and go from there.
As I think Ashley noted, there's definitely some change there. So it might take a little bit of our discussing what it is you really need to bring Jen Hoffman and some others up to date on.
Right, and make sure, the main idea when we spoke on this, Roxanne, was to make sure that this ordinance is the teeth that they need to get what they're trying to accomplish accomplished, if not what will, because this doesn't necessarily do what some things that need to get done. So let's have that discussion, and then we can move it forward, and then I'll circle back with Counselor Wheeler if that's acceptable to him as the original drafter.
All right. So yes, that's right, Otis. So I'm open for you guys to contact me, and you know what it is exactly that we can help you with.
Perfect.
So just to summarize, it seems like it's a little bit of a reboot and regroup.
Yeah.
So
I think.
Do you want this on your agenda, or should this come off the agenda until December?
Yeah, I would not say a discussion, because I don't want the public or people that are involved coming onto the meeting to see what I would say. That all I will do is update the committee. I will update the committee. So however that's done, it either can be on the agenda or not on the agenda. And hopefully by then I will have talked with the mayor's office and we will have an actual date to further this discussion.
You might want to put it under your agenda under new business.
Okay.
Or you know what we can do too is it's because it's old new business, we'll just leave it on the agenda and I'll have her swap out the word discussion for update.
Yeah, I just don't want members. This has been, very well followed by both proponents and I wouldn't say opponents, concerned landlords. And I just want to make sure that they're not all coming back to me to go on, because some have asked to speak and we're not there again. We're trying to make sure we know what we're talking about. So that's
Great.
what would be best.
Yep, that sounds good to me. All right, so then we have the 2020 ordinance review status update, if there is any. Is that kind of still moving forward, or are you still in a position where you're also looking to regroup?
That is also something that I have to talk to the mayor's chief of staff and see where she is in her requests within the departments in order for me to move forward.
Okay, and I do believe this has to be completed in a timely manner. So my concern is that obviously we've had a pandemic. My concern is that we're not making much movement on the ordinance review. So if you could circle back and kind of give, like when you provide an update, if you can let me know where that stands too in terms of gathering information from department heads. So I know that they just have so much going on.
Yeah,
Keeping the lights on and keeping the wheels turning in the city. But I do know that this is a priority for the year.
Yeah, that's what it is, because we haven't started our review because they, as department heads, were following Kathy's format and getting them to her, and then we would take it from there. I have not received any of that yet. So I don't want to say it's not being done. I don't want to say there isn't some there. It is an unknown factor.
Right. And so I think the best case scenario too, because like that's mainly my job, is chasing people for reports and information. I think just reminding folks that this is still a priority of the council, and if they have anything to send it your way, and then setting a time, setting like a date for when they need to submit it to you is probably more helpful than just saying, get this to me when you can. Because we are, of course, in November. So
yeah, I have confirmed we had set up a calendar of when departments were supposed to get the information back to Clerk Scott, and I will follow up there, and I also will talk to Danny Letourneau next week or this week to see where it all lies, and I will get you an update.
Great, thank you very much. So it seems like, as I'm just going through this agenda, I see so many.
Can I interrupt, Ashley?
Sure.
Sorry to interrupt. It's just about the last piece. Danny had ordinances ready from licensing and parking that she worked with those two departments. And I think they're ready for A&O, but because Lord knows that the clerk's office has had a lot on their plate, I don't think they made it to the committee chair's agenda tonight. But those should be ready.
Excellent.
Presumably we have to go through the process to get them on this agenda first, though.
So did Danny provide that update to you? I'm curious why that update wasn't provided to Councilor Gwynn.
I thought he was included, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, let me see if that's something yeah, it might be something that I didn't address, but I was hoping to get where we are with all the departments. So let me find out and then get back to you, President Snuffle.
All right, great, thank you. And then you also have the reformatting of public comment during city council meetings, as well as the mayoral appointments. So it seems like so we're taking off electioneering for this month. We'll move it to December. We are providing an update and not having a discussion for the rental dwelling units ordinance. And then we will hopefully have an update on the ordinance review. So I think that's okay. I just didn't want you to have too many discussions, so you'd have to move through them without really investing time.
Right. I know we have no discussions happening. So the public comment we have not brought up yet. So it might be a good opportunity as we have mayoral appointments. So obviously we have to meet. So it might be worth opening the floor to the public comment discussion.
Right. So we'll leave that on. And let's see if there's anything else from above that we put on there. Nope. Okay.
And I would just want to make a comment that if anyone has any questions concerning the mayoral appointments or reappointments, that they get that to me by Monday before the week of the council ANO meeting. So if it's anything that I need to reach out and get clarification for, or if there's anything that has to be discussed about any of the candidates, that I have it with some time to get back to any counselor.
Great. Yes. And that's in line with our new process.
Correct.
Thank you. All right. So EDC, you have a meeting on the 10th. And you have some items to take from the table as well as a joint public hearing.
Yeah, so we actually have 2 meetings this month. So we
Yeah.
have the meeting on the 10th and then I believe it's the 18th with the planning board for their usual meeting.
That is the
yeah,
19th.
19th, excuse me. Yes. And I've looked at these agendas. They look good. We have one zoning item that got tabled from last month because people wanted some more time to consider it. So we'll be passing that on for the November meeting, council meeting.
See, okay. All right. So you're just focusing on the amendments, which I think sounds right. So should we remove I think we should remove the boards and commissions review discussion for this month.
Yeah, that sounds fine. If there's anything pressing, I can always bring it up during new business. It's just in the discussion phase.
Oh, unless you want to have it on and you feel like there's ample time.
I think there will be time. I'm uncertain whether there will be any new developments on that one.
Okay, so we'll leave it on.
If we want to leave, well, I guess either way, we may or may not talk about it, but might as well leave it on.
All right, sounds good. And then CRE, your meeting on the 16th. The census has now closed. So is there anything that your committee is currently working on?
No, the only thing I would say is I did get a message from a constituent, and then I ended up getting a subsequent message on the same topic. I had forwarded it to you and Vice President Wheeler about police escorting folks who are protesting through red lights I wasn't present, so I don't have all of the details. I can only refer back to the emails. I don't know if that's something that we need to take up on CRE. It seems like something that has calmed down, and it seems like it's unrelated to the discussion that we were having before. But I do think that people are expecting an answer, because I did get some follow-up questions about that from people who did not actually get a satisfactory answer. I know people were kind of like looped into the email. I may or may not have been included on subsequent responses. I know how email kind of, sometimes you hit reply instead of reply all, and not everybody sees it. So I don't know if we want to take that up. And then I would also say, since all these other projects have wrapped up, we could either cancel for November, or if Councilor Gwynn has too much on his agenda, I think we could talk about public comment. I think that's part of community relations. So I could sort of shoulder some of the burden from A&O, since it seems like he has a full agenda. I'd offer the same to Councilor Wheeler, except I don't feel like community relations and ways and means have a lot of, we don't have a lot in common, but if you can like make the argument that it should go to my committee, I'm happy to take it on. So whatever you think.
So two things. So we'll address the emails first around public safety and parades. Did you reach out to the chief for any guidance there, or? Councilor Gilmore?
I haven't seen anything. I know he looped in at some point, but I don't know if he just replied to the person who looped him in or hit reply all.
Yeah, so, and also I think Chief of Staff Letourneau provided an answer as well. And so I don't know what's a satisfactory answer for folks or what is just the answer, right? So I don't think we're seeking to satisfy people versus give them the information and the answers to their questions. So my understanding of this is that it was more or less, at least we can only speak on behalf of our city. We can't speak on behalf of the state police. But my understanding is that it was a public safety effort more so than anything else. No different than any other mass gathering that we've had in our downtown. I don't think there was no participation. It was more or less making sure that everyone was safe, because those type of events do tend to incite violence. So that's my understanding. And I don't know what other type of answer we could provide that would be more satisfactory than the truth.
Right. No, I understand that perspective, but I think that what they were getting at was when we have something like Franklin County Pride, they have to register in advance. They have to, pay extra money so that they can, have public safety officials on site. And some people just don't register in advance and get this service because we have to. I mean, we're going to protect our city, of course, right? So I can see why they feel like there is an inequity. I don't know what the right answer is, and I don't know if it's something that can be legislated. But I do feel like some closure would be good. And I don't know if anybody has seen a response from Chief Haig. If you could forward it to me, I would appreciate it, because like I said, I initiated the email with the two of you, and then several other people were copied in. And I think at that point, sometimes people hit reply and sometimes they hit reply all, and sometimes you just don't see that resolution. I did see the one from Chief of Staff Letourneau, and I did forward that on. So maybe this is just a done deal.
Yeah, and the other way I think about it too, I don't want to get too into it, but I'm going to say I don't know if it's an agenda item or if it's just more due diligence to make sure that folks are getting the answers that they want. And so I haven't seen anything from the chief come through, but I did see what came through from Chief of Staff Letourneau. So I don't, if that's not satisfactory, then maybe you reach out to the chief again.
Yeah, and I can also circle back to the people who wrote to me and try and figure out exactly what is the information that they're trying to get. A lot of the questions I think were pointed intentionally to be rhetorical, just because I know them well. I have personal relationships with them, and they have very strong opinions about what sort of things should be taking place in town. So I can talk to them about that and kind of smooth that over. But I do want to make sure that if we have a policy, it's very clear to folks. Just because we shouldn't be playing favorites or giving the perception that we're playing favorites. I think
I certainly don't think it was playing favorites. The way that I see it is, would we prefer, because nobody filed, I also think it's a lot of people that weren't even Greenfield residents and they were just driving through. And so if if the answer that they're looking for is to not have public safety act when there's a potential violent event because they never filed with the city, I don't know if that's what they're, I don't understand. So let's
Right, and that could be worse, right?
I say continue on doing what you're doing, Sheila, getting the information. And then if I can help you, whether it's, yeah, if I can help you in any way, just let me know.
Yeah, no, I understand. And I think that it would be worse if they didn't respond. So for what that's worth.
Yeah, so it sounds like we have questions that are unanswered or residents do. And so perhaps you just focus there. And if I can help you in any way, let me know.
Okay.
And then you took the words right out of my mouth, because that's another thing I was going to consider is maybe before we consider having a discussion on changing anything with public comment, we hear from the public on public comment. And so I think that would be a great idea if Councillor Gwynn agrees for CRE to take that up and get some public feedback on public comment. So we can then consider it in A&O.
I think I have no objection. I think that's a great idea. I would reach out to Counselor Ricketts, who's on A&O,
Who's also on the call.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't say her on there. I would talk to Counselor Ricketts and have Counselor Gilmore maybe have her speak to bring that. That's how I was going to initiate the discussion in A&O and go from there. But I have no objection if Counselor Ricketts does not.
And I see Councillor Ricketts there. Does that sound like a good plan for you, Councillor Ricketts, since you proposed this?
Yeah, that's fine. I only asked to speak because I wanted to let people know that the ordinances that we are supposed to look over, they're in our email. It went to everybody on A&O and council leadership. So the stuff from Danny went to Tammy, and Tammy sent it to us.
Great.
So for A&O, it's all there. It's on October 23rd. And I felt like people from council really spoke out the most about what they thought about public comment. So whatever way they want to deal, yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm not married to anything that happens with it now. I think whatever's going to happen is going to happen. It doesn't matter to me at all any longer. So thank you.
Okay, so would you like to rescind then at that point, or is the sense here that we continue it moving forward?
No, I don't do ordinances and all that kind of stuff. It was just an email I brought up, and it got brought up in a whole meeting and everything. So I wasn't making it a big thing. It just came up. I just sent out an email about an idea about it. So if you want me to send an email to say I rescind it so people can stop thinking about it, because the only way they can do that, that's fine. I'll do it. But no, I never put it forward for something that we should do, and I didn't put it up for an agenda item. So fine, I will send that email right now to Kathy. Okay, I'm all set. Thank you.
All right, so we will just take that off the agenda, or you know what, if you want to proceed with that conversation, Sheila, because I know that we do get emails from the public every now and then regarding public comment and that it's late and stuff like that. So it might still be a valuable topic for the public to weigh in on. So it's up to you.
I'm happy to talk about it, especially if people are going to log in and come speak with us. And I mean, I'm happy to, I can post some things on Facebook and get my friends to come talk if other people are going to advertise it also. I just don't want it to be a discussion with just a bunch of counselors, because we have our perspective and, the public has a different perspective. So,
Great.
But we can do it. Let's try for this month and see where it goes.
Great. Okay. So we will shift that from A&O to CRE. Let me just make a note of that so I can let them know. Public comment. Okay. All right, looking at where we stand now, there's no clerk report because they are quite busy, and then our draft. So we have zoning amendments first. I would propose, so that's only a first reading. I think this looks good. Does anyone have an opinion on how things are ordered? Counselor Gwynn.
I just have a comment. I see that there are three changes that Counselor Wheeler and Counselor Ricketts said that were sent. I looked those up. I do have those. So because we're not going to take up that discussion, why don't we add to the committee, A&O committee, that will take up the three changes to ordinance that were brought in, and those will be just sent. There was three. So Chief of Staff Letourneau said she would talk to us about those three changes from the Board of License Commissioners. So we can do that at our next meeting.
It'll be so. All right. Well, and we'll just see because it'll depend on if she's willing to speak on the holiday.
Oh, that's true. I wasn't thinking.
And so probably just follow up with her and see for A&O.
And we don't have to have her speak on those. At that point, the process is that they get submitted, they get sent to us, and then I have one of our counselors on the committee review that entire department, and then we give the recommendations to the full council. So I can take a look at that meeting, because that'll be part of the update as on the agenda, and then we'll assign that entire department to a counselor to review and then bring it forward. So that should be fine. And then Chief of Staff Letourneau can speak at that point.
Yeah, perfect. All right, great. And so we will account for that on your agenda.
Just as discussion is fine.
I think as is fine.
Yeah.
Review, status update.
Perfect.
And we will make a note to invite Chief of Staff Letourneau when she's available. All right, great. Okay, back to the agenda.
I had a comment about the agenda, which is just that would it make sense to move up the appropriation things, because those will require questions of department heads? Would it make sense to move those ahead of the zoning stuff, which might take quite a while?
That feels right to me. Let me just make a note. I will leave the appointments last, or unless we want to just put those right up at the front as well. I'm sure there will be quite a bit of public comment on the zoning amendment, so it's a toggling between having folks stay the whole time or not, but we'll move items 4, 5, 6, and 7 to the top.
Yeah, to be honest, it seems like the appointments staying at the end of the agenda makes a lot more sense, because we're not going to have a long back and forth about that, you know?
Yeah.
So when we're fresh, we want to deal with some of these more, I don't want to say more important, but denser topics.
Yep, I hear you. And then keep appointments where they are. All right, I think that's good. Any other discussion?
One thing from me, it was pointed out to me that we're only at the first reading stage of the fire station vote. And since the Ways and Means agenda is so full, I think I'd like to move that vote to December.
That makes sense to me. I think she left it on there just as a continued discussion. So do you anticipate not talking about it at all?
Yeah, I don't think we'll take it up.
Okay. Or appropriation, right? And all right, any other comments? Seeing none. All right, so I will forward my notes to the clerk's office, and this should be good. So do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Okay.
Again,
Second, Gilmore.
perfect.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you very much, everybody. This meeting is adjourned at 6:47 p.m.